The Animals Enter the Ark. Long ago, long before our time, there was a man named Noah. He was a good man, living simply and kindly in a world that was beginning to forget how to be gentle with one another. One day, God spoke to Noah with a quiet, clear voice. He asked Noah to build a large boat, an ark, to keep his family and many animals safe during a coming flood. Noah listened carefully. He worked patiently, cutting wood, measuring, and building. The ark took a long time to complete. It was wide and strong, with many rooms inside. Noah followed God's directions very closely, making sure the ark would hold all the creatures that needed safety. As the ark was finished, something wonderful began to happen. The animals came. First, there were pairs of every kind, 2 by 2. Some were big, like elephants and lions. Some were small, like birds and frogs. They came quietly, softly stepping toward the ark. The gentle giraffes walked beside the riverbank, their long necks swaying gently in the soft wind. The elephants trumpeted softly, but with no hurry. They knew it was time to enter the ark. The lions moved slowly, their golden fur shining in the warm sunlight. Even the tiny ants gathered in busy lines, climbing carefully toward the entrance. Noah and his family stood quietly near the ark's ramp. They helped guide the animals gently inside, one by one. The animals did not rush or panic. They seemed to understand this was a special place, a place of safety and rest. The birds came next. Some flew high in the sky, circling slowly before landing on the ark's roof. Others hopped in eagerly, tucking their feathers close as they found cozy spots to settle. The soft chirps and coos filled the air, comforting and calm. Among the animals were pairs of clean animals, those that could be used for food and offerings, and pairs of unclean animals too. Noah gently welcomed them all inside. The teaching does not tell us exactly how all these animals fit so quietly and calmly, but it reminds us gently that all were cared for. Even the animals that seemed fierce or wild came in peacefully. The bears lumbered softly across the wooden floor. The snakes slithered quietly along the edges. The owls blinked their big eyes calmly as they perched in safe corners. Noah's wife and his sons and their wives cared lovingly for each animal as it entered. They made sure the animals had space to rest, food saved carefully for each kind, and water kept fresh in deep troughs. The ark was a busy but calm place, full of soft sounds and gentle movements. The sky was growing heavier now, the clouds gathering quietly above. It was almost time for the rain. But inside the ark, everything stayed peaceful and still. The animals settled down in their places, some curling close to each other for warmth and comfort. The great window of the ark, made just as God had instructed, was closed gently. It let in some light, but kept the water outside. The door was shut firmly, sealing the animals and Noah's family inside, safe and warm. Outside, the world was changing. The rivers swelled, the earth softened, and the first drops of rain began to fall. But inside the ark, the animals drifted into soft, quiet rest. Each breath was steady, each heartbeat slow. Noah sat quietly for a moment, looking at the animals he had helped bring inside. He whispered softly, "All is as it should be." And the animals in their gentle way seemed to agree. They were safe, they were calm. They waited, together. The rain came down more heavily now. It tapped on the roof of the ark like a lullaby. The sound was soothing, a steady rhythm that wrapped around the ark like a warm blanket. The lions lay close to the deer. The wolves rested near the sheep. The animals, once strangers to each other, now shared this quiet space, protected and still. Even the little birds nestled into the nooks. The softest sounds drifted inside the ark. The rustle of feathers, the slow breathing of sleeping creatures, the occasional low rumble of an elephant dreaming. Outside, everything was silent but for the rain. Inside, life went on gently, with care and patience. Noah's family moved quietly through the rooms, checking each space, making sure the animals were comfortable and cared for. They spoke in soft voices, careful not to disturb the peaceful rest of the creatures. The days before the flood came were filled with this calm attentiveness. The animals had come from every corner of the earth, some from close by, others from far away. All had found their way to the ark as daylight faded and dawns broke anew. And still, the ark waited. The animals waited. Noah's family waited. It was a waiting filled with trust, with quiet hope. The world outside may have been shifting, but inside the ark was a haven of gentle care. And so, the animals entered the ark, two by two, calm and slow. They came together quietly, guided by a steady hand, sheltered by a loving heart. The story of the ark is not only about wood and rain, or animals and water. It is about a peaceful moment when all creatures found a place to rest, a moment when safety was offered and care was given gently. And now, as the rain begins to fall in earnest, the ark rests on the waves, carrying those who chose to trust in the quiet promise of calm. Noah and his family, the lions and the sheep, the birds and the bears, all are settled, all are ready for the journey ahead. But that is a story for another time. For now, let us rest in this gentle moment, this peaceful pause, before the next part unfolds. Outside, the rain falls steadily, each drop a soft percussion on the earth. Rivers swelled beyond their usual margins. But inside the ark, a serene atmosphere endures. The animals, sensing the changes in the world beyond, settle deeper into their spaces. Zebras lie close to the zebras, their stripes blending softly in the dim light. Elephants stand nearby, their enormous ears gently fanning slow breaths that ripple the stale air. A pair of doves coo quietly, tucked beside a roosting owl. Noah moves softly from one enclosure to another. He pauses by a stall where a pair of donkeys rests, their ears flicking attentively to his footsteps. They nudge him gently, acknowledging his presence. With careful hands, he smooths the coarse fur on one's neck, offering quiet reassurance. Nearby, his sons guide small vessels of fresh water to the animals that thirst. They speak in low murmurs, their voices barely rising above the gentle cadence of the rain. Inside, the smell of earth and fur mingles with the faint scent of hay and fresh fruit. The atmosphere is warm and steady, a shelter from the tempest gathering beyond the wooden walls. Every creature seems to understand this moment, a pause in time, where trust and care maintain an unspoken promise. In a small corner of the ark, Noah's wife moves quietly. She lays down bowls filled with tender shoots and fruits, placing them carefully within reach of the smaller beasts. Rabbits nibble softly, rats curl closer to the woven baskets that hold their food. She hums a gentle, wordless tune, a song of peace that soothes both animal and human alike. The great door of the ark stands firmly shut, sealed against the flood. The window above, a barrier against the endless sky, allows just a soft glow of natural light to filter through. This illumination casts shifting patterns across the wooden planks, dancing gently as the rain continues its steady rhythm. The hum of water outside is constant, a reminder of the world's change, yet inside the ark breathes calm and quiet. Noah sits beside a slow, rhythmic tapping sound. A beaver, industrious even in confines, quietly adjusts a loose rib of wood in its enclosure. Each tap strikes hollowly, yet resolutely, a testament to instinct and purpose, even when sheltering from the storm. Nearby, a pair of otters yawns, curling one into the other as they rest beside a small pool of clear water. A lion's deep, droning purr vibrates through the air, mingling with the softer whispers of the night. The fierce cat's eyes close slowly, a peaceful surrender to the calm that fills the ark's interior. Next to it, the gentle deer nestle, their breath soft as mist in the cool air. The contrasts of strength and gentleness blend here into a harmony of quiet coexistence. Outside, the wind stirs, though no fierce gales penetrate the ark's sturdy frame. The rain continues, steady and unrelenting, its sound settling into a lullaby that presses gently against the eardrums. It is a lullaby for the earth, for the animals, for Noah's family, all waiting, all sheltered together. Inside, time flows differently. Moments stretch, elongate, suspended in the soft glow and even rhythm of breath and heartbeat. The subtle movements of fur, feathers, and skin mark the passage of hours, each creature tuning into this shared stillness. Noah's family continues their gentle vigilance. Now and then one of the sons checks the containers holding food supplies. They adjust the balance, ensuring every species has enough but not too much. Mindful of waste, mindful of the confines of their temporary home. Their careful hands work with steady, practiced rhythm, a choreography of care and necessity. Outside, occasional flashes of distant lightning light the horizon, brief and untiring. The momentary bursts illuminate the rain's relentless sweep. But within the ark, no shadows gather. beyond the soft shifts of light and shade, on wood and straw. Noah's wife checks on the sick and weary animals, her face a mask of tender concern and quiet determination. She guides a slow, mournful-eyed cow to a resting place, softly tending wounds with calming herbs. The gentle hands soothe, the quiet voice whispers a hope for healing, a promise of endurance. A small group of crows, usually lonely and loud, now huddles close to a silent robin, sharing warmth and quiet companionship. The unexpected alliances forged in this refuge reflect an unspoken truth. Survival is not just about strength, but harmony, cooperation, and compassion. Noah pauses before a large enclosure where the larger predators rest. He stands silently, respecting their space, recognizing the power within, but also the peaceful surrender now present. The roaring storms outside will rage beyond the ark's walls, but inside, peace prevails. It is here, amid the quiet breaths and gentle shuffles, that the lesson of the ark becomes clearer. That even in the face of great upheaval, stillness, care, and patience can create a sanctuary. Every creature, every person on board, shares this stillness. Mixed with it is an undercurrent of trust. Trust in the ark, trust in one another, trust in the promise that this too shall pass. Even as the rain continues without halt, pressing the world outside to change irrevocably, there is a steadfastness inside. The animals breathe softly, the family moves with care, the ark remains a steadfast refuge. In this suspended time, the murmurs of hope ripple softly, a seed held safely in the dark earth beneath the ark's shadow, waiting for the sun. As night settles fully, soft and deep, the sounds of the animals slow to near silence. Even the owls grow quiet in their lofty perches. The only sound left is the rhythm of rain and breath, steady and true. Noah and his family gather briefly in the small space they keep for themselves, sharing a silent moment of gratitude for the safety held within these heavy walls. No words are needed. The calm itself says it all. Rest comes at last, quiet, full, a gentle surrender to the long wait ahead. Outside, the floodwaters rise, covering the earth's wounds. Inside, the ark is a heartbeat, a breathing sanctuary suspended in time. The animals dream their quiet dreams, the family holds their watch in peaceful vigilance, and the ark rocks softly on an endless sea, holding fast through the darkest hours. And here, gentle listener, we leave this moment, this calm before the dawn, cradled in hope, patience, and the steadfast pulse of life, carried safely within the ark's embrace. As the night deepened, the ark seemed wrapped in a cocoon of stillness, the storm outside gradually softening its furious song. Though the rain still fell in steady sheets, and the wind whispered against the sturdy walls, inside there was an enduring calm, like the pause between heartbeats. Settled in places chosen by instinct or comfort, existed as if in a quiet dream, their breaths blending with the rhythm of the ark's gentle rocking. Noah lay awake for a while, gazing beyond the small window at the swelling waters glowing faintly under the pallid moon. His thoughts moved like the slow currents surging outside, flowing between concern and faith. He felt the immense weight of responsibility, yet also the profound relief of having a sanctuary. With a soft sigh, he welcomed that stillness, letting it quiet the worries that stirred in the corners of his mind. His wife, too, sat quietly nearby. She cradled a small bundle of fresh herbs, carefully arranged. The scent of mint and chamomile, gathered from their garden before the rains began, filled the air. Her hands were steady and tender as always, ready to soothe any animal calling for comfort. There was a gentle strength in her presence, a kind of living warmth that did not waver, even as the tempest raged around them. In the far corner of the ark, the smaller creatures rested close together. Rabbits nestled softly next to quiet mice, birds perched in pairs, their heads tucked beneath wings. Even the usually restless ones had succumbed to the lull of exhaustion and safety. The hush was like a lullaby, embracing them all in a shared peace. Occasionally, the deeper groans of the ark shifting with the waves echoed softly, a reminder of the power outside balanced by the steadfast protection within. The wood expanded and contracted with the wetness, a living thing cradling life and hope together. Noah found comfort in this breathing of the ark, steady and unyielding. When dawn approached, the light through the small windows grew dimmer as the rain began to slow, turning to a gentle drizzle. The thunder softened until it was little more than distant murmurs. A hush settled more deeply than before. It felt as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting at the edge of awakening. Noah rose and moved quietly through the ark's aisles. One by one he checked on the animals, speaking softly in low tones. The lions were stretched sleepily, their golden manes rumpled but calm. The elephants, still enormous shadows in the dim light, rumbled gently to themselves and spread their great feet carefully on the wet timber floor. Noah's wife followed behind, offering fresh water from the earthen jug, keeping an eye on those who needed extra care. Here and there, unexpected friendships showed subtle signs of life. Tiny birds hopped along near the noses of grazing antelope, the gentle deer standing protectively over the shy hares nearby. Predators had rested without tension, their eyes softening in moments of shared stillness. It was a quiet miracle, this fragile harmony born of necessity. Outside, the floodwaters had risen further, swallowing the familiar contours of the land. Trees were half submerged, distant hills disappeared beneath the silver-gray surface. Yet the ark floated calmly, a single raft above the vastness. Its silhouette was a symbol of endurance, an island of soft refuge amid the restless sea. As the family gathered for their morning meal, a modest fare of bread, dried fruits, and nuts, there was a shared sense of gratitude in the quiet conversation, words few but meaning deep. Tables were set simply between baskets of carefully stored provisions. Noah's youngest child reached up to touch a gentle dog's fur, and the dog responded with a soft wag of its tail, their shared trust undeniable. Throughout the day, the air inside remained warm and gentle, filled with the soft sounds of small movements, the shuffle of paws, the flutter of feathers, the quiet murmur of contentment. The animals, sensing the easing of the storm, stirred slowly, eyes brightening with renewed alertness, but still carrying a placid calm. Noah and his wife moved steadily among them, tending tasks with quiet care. She prepared more natural remedies, blending crushed leaves and honey for those still weary. He checked the seals on the ark's exterior, listening for the faintest drip, the smallest creak that might signal a breach. Every detail mattered, every careful action a step toward continued safety. At one point, a sudden shower of droplets, pattering softly on the deck, brought a pause in activity. The animals lifted their heads, curious, as the sky above let fall a gentle gift of water, now more a blessing than a burden. The earth outside thirsted, and the rains, though transformed, whispered a promise of renewal. As evening deepened once more, the family gathered by the central hearth, a fire burning low and warm. The flickering light cast long shadows, shimmering on the ruffled fur of resting lions and the sleek coats of nearby deer. In this dim glow, peace grew heavier and more tangible, woven through the ark's wooden ribs like an embrace. Noah felt the weight of the night differently now, not as threat, but as the closing of a chapter. The storm outside had ebbed, its roar growing distant, leaving a tranquil world waiting beyond the ark's sturdy walls. There was an unspoken understanding among those sheltered within. The journey was not over, but the greatest peril had passed. Before settling down again, Noah opened the ark's small door briefly, just enough to glimpse the transformed world outside. Patches of blue sky peeked through the thinning clouds, and the water below shimmered under the soft emerging light. The air smelled fresh, clean, and new. He closed the door gently with a careful hand, cherishing the sight, the scent, the promise. As the family prepared for rest, Noah stood a moment longer, surrounded by life that depended upon him, bound by a quiet trust to protect and preserve. He whispered a prayer of thanks, words carried not in haste but in the slow, steady cadence of hope, sustained through patience. The animals, sensing the close of day, settled deeply into sleep once more. Even the owls, guardians of the night, grew still. The ark braced calmly against the last sighs of the tempest passing, a haven rocking softly on endless waters. And so the night wrapped the ark in silence, a gentle shield of quietude after the storm. Outside, the world waited in hushed anticipation, readying for the dawn of a new beginning, a time of renewal, growth, and peace reborn. Inside, all was stillness, a quiet symphony of breaths, warmth, safety, and unwavering trust in the promise of brighter days ahead. The animals slept. Noah's family rested. The ark held steady, a sanctuary of life, love, and hope. As dawn brushed pale light across the sky, a serene stillness lingered within the ark's timbered walls. The soft breaths of slumbering animals wove through the air, mingling with the faint murmur of water embracing the vessel. The world beyond remained quiet, swathed in mist and the distant echo of rain's last tender drops. Noah rose slowly, the warmth of the hearth's dying embers inviting him near. His fingers traced the smooth surface of a pottery bowl as he prepared a modest share of food for the morning. Each movement was deliberate, carried with the quiet reverence of one who understood the weight of this moment. Outside, the light shifted gently, petals of dawn unfolding across the horizon. One by one, the animals began to awaken, stretching their limbs and shaking off the remnants of rest. There was a soft symphony of sounds, the rustle of feathers, the low murmur of hooves, the whisper of breath drawn deep and easy. Predators and prey alike lifted their eyes without fear, sharing a fragile truce enfolded in the promise of this shared shelter. The cubs nestled close to their mothers, trembling slightly, yet soothed by the steady heartbeat of this floating haven. Elephants stirred, their large trunks exploring the space before curling softly around a leafy branch offered gently by Noah's son. All moved slowly, the measured rhythm of their awakening blending with the soothing cadence of the rising day. Noah stood watching for a moment, a quiet smile touching his lips. This harmony, fragile as the morning light, was a gift, proof that even in the most uncertain of times, peace could bloom where care and patience prevailed. His wife joined him, her eyes reflecting the hope that had taken root deep inside them both. After the small meal, the family gathered near the arched windows, looking out upon the endless waters. The flood had reshaped the earth into a vast, shimmering plain, soft with mist and the gentle sound of rippling waves. Trees and hills were now memories beneath the surface, leaving only the sky and water to mark the passage of time. The ark floated softly, a steadfast sanctuary amid the vast expanse. The wood, though weathered, held firm, a testament to careful hands and unwavering faith. Noah's thoughts traveled beyond the horizon. He imagined seeds hidden within the earth's embrace, waiting to sprout anew. Animals in far corners of the waters, the great renewal soon to unfurl beneath the sun's warm gaze. The rain had ceased, replaced by a pure light that filtered through scattered clouds. The freshened air carried a hint of earth's brightness, infusing the ark's interior with unspoken promises. Noah's daughter gathered herbs from the woven baskets, their green leaves vibrant and fragrant, while his wife gently tended to the younger animals, soothing their new dawning unrest with a soft touch. A pair of doves perched atop the ark's uppermost beam, a small sign, tender and simple, acknowledgement of the sky's clearing mood. Their coos were almost whispered, wrapped in the calm that blanketed the world inside and beyond these wooden walls. Noah knelt beside the well-tended plants growing in a corner near the hearth, simple shoots tightly cradled in earthen pots. With careful hands, he moistened the soil, feeling the vitality that promised life beyond the waters. This act, so modest in gesture, held the weight of all creation's enduring hope. As the morning deepened, soft conversations filled the space, words exchanged with gentle smiles and quiet laughter. The family's voices, low and steady, mingled with the hum of animals stirring to curious wakefulness. There was no hurry, no rush, only the patience of waiting, cradled by faith. Midday brought a gentle warmth that seeped through the wooden planks, wrapping the ark in a comforting embrace. Entering this sunlit hour, Noah took a moment to walk among the creatures. His footsteps muffled by straw and soft soil, he paused to meet the dark, trusting eyes of the lions, the bright gaze of the gazelles, the curious blink of a young zebra. There was a sacred balance here, ancient cycles held in suspended calm, and the world inside this floating refuge breathed as one. Noah's heart lifted as he felt the tension of fear and unease begin to soften, replaced by a quiet assurance born of shared survival. Evening began to brush its hues across the sky, painting gentle strokes of amber and rose that softened the day's warmth. The family gathered once more by the hearth, the flickering flames casting dancing shadows that stretched and folded like quiet prayers. Surrounded by the animals resting peacefully, Noah spoke softly, words flowing gentle and unhurried. He spoke of beginnings yet unseen, of patience grown strong through trial, of the promise that all things bright and living would one day walk the earth again. His family listened, their eyes reflecting the firelight and the deep certainty growing within their hearts. The animals settled in deeper rest beneath the vaulted timbers, their quiet breaths a steady rhythm blending with the song of the night breeze, moving softly through cracks and crevices. Outside, constellations emerged, delicate and ancient, watching over the ark as guardians of the unfolding promise. Noah stood by the tiny opening through which he watched the transformed world beyond, a vast, shimmering tapestry of water and sky. His hands folded over his heart, his voice a whisper carried on the cool night air, offering thanks for the guardianship of life, the shelter from storm, the quiet grace found in endurance. In that soft darkness, hope was not a distant beacon, but a living pulse felt in every warm breath, every steady heartbeat, every peaceful glance exchanged between man, beast, and sky. The ark cradled them all, a floating emblem of resilience and care. As sleep claimingly drew the family and creatures into gentle dreams, the vessel rocked with the ebb and flow of endless waters, rocking not with fear, but with steady certainty, a lullaby of life, held safe upon the vast, patient sea. In these quiet hours, beneath a tender canopy of stars, the ark remained sanctuary and promise alike, an enduring place where patience reaped the seeds of new beginnings, where fragile harmony chilled no more, but blossomed beneath the first pure light of a world soon to be reborn. Dawn unfolded softly on the ark, a pale amber glow sweeping gently across the curved timbers and the quiet figures nestled within. The air carried a fresh, tender scent, the mingling of damp earth and flourishing green leaves, as shoots and blossoms reached toward the skylights. Noah stepped out quietly from his dwelling space, pausing to breathe deep. The world beyond the ark remained unseen, an expanse of shimmering water stretched as far as sight, but inside, life hummed with subtle promise. The animals stirred awake, their gentle breaths mingling in the stillness. A low murmur rose from the nearby stall where the first pair of lions softly nuzzled, their golden fur catching the morning light. Close by, the antlers of a pair of deer brushed tenderly as they stretched their legs on the soft bedding of moss and straw. Even the small creatures, rabbits, squirrels, and birds, appeared enlivened, hopping and fluttering with delicate energy. Noah walked slowly along the narrow passageway, his footsteps muffled by the thick matting beneath. He glanced to the large container of clear water resting near the doorway and lifted the wooden dipper to pour some into a shallow tray beside the animals. They drank eagerly, but with much gentleness, a shared respect spoken in quiet moments. His wife soon joined him, carrying a woven basket filled with tender shoots and leaves to scatter among the herbivores. Their soft conversations blended like the hum of bees in a calm meadow. No rush, no urgency, just the steady flow of care taking root. Outside the small window slats a chorus of birdsong rose. The two doves from the day before cooed softly, their pale feathers catching occasional golden hues, as shafts of light found their way through the clouds. They flitted from beam to beam, settling briefly before taking flight again, their presence a living echo of the new sky unburdened by rain. Noah knelt beside a patch of earth where he had planted spindly seedlings. The roots had begun to steady, and the first tender leaves reached upward, quivering slightly in the gentle drafts threading through the ark's wide hull. Each leaf seemed almost miraculous, a tender proof of survival and continuity. With a steady hand, Noah stroked a leaf, whispering a thank you to life itself, a moment of reverence free from words. As the morning warmed, work resumed gently inside the vessel. The children arranged soft bedding and fresh hay, their small hands steady and sure despite their youth. Their eyes shone with quiet excitement, filled with wonder and the secret knowledge that this ordinary task held the blueprint for future days. Near the hearth, a low fire crackled, tended carefully to keep warmth without smoke overwhelming the enclosed space. Aromas of baked grain and simmering herbs mingled with the earthiness of fresh plants and animal warmth, creating a soothing balm to the senses. Noah paused to look at his family as they bustled softly about. Their faces glowed, tender smiles unfolding like blankets against the hardships of the journey so far. Their faith remained their deepest anchor, held steady in this immense suspension between past and the hopeful horizon ahead. Midday sunlight filtered through the upper vents, tracing warm pools on the amber wood. In this light a hush grew deeper. The animals rested in kinship, their breathing slow and even. The lions lay beside the antelopes in a remarkable calm, a delicate truce born of peace within this floating sanctuary. Noah inhaled the tranquil air, filled with the mingled scent of fur, feathers, and leaves. He walked slowly among them, careful to speak a few soft words to each pair, to the stallions and mares, to the quiet beasts in the shadowed corners. His voice was low, a gentle song carried on the stillness. The family gathered again near the hearth, as twilight approached. They sat together, sharing small portions of bread and fruit, their eyes clear, and their voices hushed in gratitude. Noah's gaze rested on the circle of love that held them, human and animal, bound by this fragile vessel in the midst of an endless sea. He spoke softly, his words a balm. We are living proof of a promise made anew. This world, washed clean and waiting, holds endless possibilities. From this ark, life will begin again, shaped by kindness and care. Let us honor that gift with patience and with love. Outside, the stars began their slow dance, their cool shimmer a comforting presence against the dark sky. The constellations watched, silent and steady, as the ark floated onward, a sentinel of hope amid the vast unknown. The animals settled for the night in places that had become familiar and safe. Even the restless had found rest, lulled by the sea's gentle rocking and the calming voices around them. In their breath and heartbeat, a quiet unity pulsed. Noah returned to his place by the hearth. The flickering light cast shadows that played like gentle waves upon the walls. He closed his eyes, letting a slow peace wash over him. This night, like all nights in the ark, was charged not with fear but with promise, the whisper of new beginnings borne on waves of endurance. With the last embers glowing softly behind him, Noah's thoughts drifted to the days ahead, to the new earth waiting beneath the receding waters, to the green that would grow, and the skies that would clear fully, and the laughter that would fill the air once again. His heart was steady in the quiet. The ark, a vessel not only of survival but of hope, floated gently onward, a fragile cradle rocking the tender dawn of a world reborn. Outside, the stars kept their gentle watch, patient sentinels guarding the promise of tomorrow. As dawn's first light whispered across the ark's wooden frame, a soft stirring began among the creatures. The slumber of night gave way to gentle sounds, a low murmur, the shifting of paws and hooves upon straw, the fluttering of delicate wings. The animals emerged from their quiet rests, eyes brightening with the promise of another day. Their breath mingled with the crisp air that filtered through the cracks and seams of the great vessel, carrying a hint of the vast waters beyond. Noah stood at the threshold of the ark's broad entrance, watching this peaceful awakening. He took a slow, steadying breath, feeling the weight of responsibility, yet also the quiet joy in seeing life continue within these walls. The animals moved with a calm grace, unmarked by the usual frenzied instincts. Here they were companions, bound together by the ark's shelter and the hope it bore. The children moved softly as well, stepping lightly so as not to disturb the delicate calm. They carried bundles of fresh hay and bedding, replenishing what had been used through the night. Their small hands worked with tender care, smoothing soft layers where the animals might nestle once more as day passed into evening. Their faces held a mixture of solemnity and wonder, touched deeply by the importance of their task. Noah's wife came near then, bringing a pitcher of warm water scented with herbs. She knelt beside a gentle doe with wide, trusting eyes. The doe bent her head patiently, allowing the water to be poured slowly at the edge of her resting place. A quiet moment passed, delicate and reverent. The hearth's fire, rekindled with fresh wood, crackled softly nearby. Its amber glow cast dancing shadows that seemed to embrace all within. Outside, the world was slowly revealing itself from behind a veil of mist. The rain had ceased, and the skies were clearing in hues of soft rose and pale gold. Noah's heart lifted with the sight of a lone bird alighting upon the ark's railing, a simple, fragile token of the earth's resilience. It called out once, then once more, a clear, pure note rising into the light. "See," Noah said gently to his family gathered around. "The earth speaks again. It calls to us with a voice of promise." The children's eyes widened as they listened, the beauty of the moment grounding them in a profound peace. They too felt the steady pulse of hope beating within this sanctuary. As the morning sun grew stronger, the animals began to stir more fully. The great elephants shifted their massive forms, stretching slow legs covered in coarse skin. The lions and tigers, usually fierce and solitary, lay close by one another, their breaths even and untroubled. Birds preened their feathers, shaking off the dampness left by last night's rainfall. Small creatures scurried carefully along the wooden beams, their tiny feet barely making a sound. Noah walked among them with reverence, his steps slow and deliberate. His calloused hands brushed the coarse manes and soft fur. He spoke softly, words in a tongue of care and faith, a murmuring meant to soothe and affirm life. Though the ark was but wood and hope amid endless waters, here was a gathering of creation's vast tapestry, each creature a thread in the unfolding future. The children clustered at one corner, assembling a small trough filled with freshly gathered greens and tender shoots. They placed the food gently, mindful of their guests. A curious fawn approached first, sniffed, then nibbled shyly. Soon others followed, the graceful deer, the patient giraffes, the small rabbits with twitching noses. Harmony, fragile but real, settled over this moment. Noah's son knelt beside the trough, whispering, "We protect you, we care for you, until the earth calls us home again." High above, the ark's top hatch opened briefly to welcome a breath of wind, carrying with it the faintest scent of salt and burgeoning land, the promise of earth to come, once again to support roots and wings, hooves and paws. By noon, the quiet warmth of the sun filled the hold with gentle heat. The animals rested or roamed in their loose spaces, finding comfort in the rhythm of the day. Noah's wife came forward once more, bearing bowls of clear water. She offered these at intervals, ensuring even the most shy creatures could drink. The children watched, learning, their hearts growing with understanding of stewardship and compassion. Outside, the ark swayed softly upon the endless waves. Yet beneath that movement, there was a stillness deeper than the tides, an anchoring presence of faith that held all safe and sound. The family gathered again as the afternoon waned, voices even and hushed with gratitude. As evening crept near, the golden light softened to a muted glow. Noah lifted his eyes to the horizon, now streaked with lavender and deepening blue. The rain clouds had vanished completely, replaced by a vast expanse of open sky. "We carry the seed of new beginnings," he said. "Like the seedlings that grow beneath our care, so too will this world renew itself in time, stronger, wiser, born from patience and love." His family nodded, leaning closer together, their hands intertwined, fingers brushing in silent vow to see dawn through, to hold fast to hope when shadows fall. Night approached gently, unfolding its velvet cloak sprinkled with countless stars. The animals settled down once more, the hush deepening into a sacred calm. The soft flicker of the heart's flames welcomed them as they found their places to rest, breathing in the warmth and quiet assurance. Noah stood at the ark's entrance again, looking out across the endless sea. He felt the pulse of the world beneath the waves, waiting, ready to renew life on dry land. The stars above seemed to watch with quiet blessing, for watcher and watched alike were part of this eternal dance. Within the ark, beneath the sanctuary of wood and hope, all was as it should be, life held tenderly in the cradle of faith. From the smallest of creatures to the hearts of his family, Noah knew the journey was not just of survival, but of sacred trust. So the ark sailed on, gently rocking with the breath of the sea, carrying the promise of new days, of earth reborn beneath the endless sky. The dawn broke gently, spilling soft golden light through the small windows along the ark's broad sides, slow and steady like the rhythm of the waters beneath. In the quiet spaces between sleep and wakefulness, a subtle shift unfurled, one that promised change, even as the rolling waves continued their endless song. Noah rose first, his bones creaking in familiar cadence, but his spirit alert beneath the calm. The animals, too, sensed the fresh breath of morning. The cheetahs stretched with smooth, lengthening limbs, their markings vivid against the dim light. Nearby, the oxen blinked awake, the slow rising of their warmth filling the stall with steady life. Stepping quietly through the corridors, Noah's gaze met the trusting eyes of creatures great and small, each an ancient melody woven into the fabric of their shared refuge. They were not merely guests or prisoners of circumstance, but voices in a living chorus whose harmony he treasured beyond words. His hand brushed a coarse mane, and a lion's purr rumbled, a deep vibration that settled like balm in the hollow of silence. The harmony was delicate, held in balance by the fragile cords of mutual respect and waiting. Trust was fragile, like the thin shoots of green emerging tentatively beyond the ark's beams. Yet it was safe here. Here life could breathe between the storms. Outside, the children's soft footfalls approached, bringing fresh bundles of carefully gathered leaves and herbs. Their small hands laid the offerings gently in wooden troughs, knowing the eyes upon them, the waiting hearts. A pair of young deer stepped cautiously forward, noses twitching, as they sampled the fresh sprigs, the crisp green scents awakening old instincts of foraging in a world paused, not ended. Nearby, a family of rabbits hopped nervously in measured circles, their breaths shallow, yet hopeful. Noah's wife moved with slow grace, offering bowls of clear, cool water. Her voice was quiet but certain, teaching the children how to care without overwhelming, how to listen to the needs spoken in silence and gesture. She knelt beside a trembling fawn, her hands steady as she coaxed the creature to drink. The moment held like a gentle blessing, a reaffirmation of tender stewardship. As the sun rose higher, the ark's wooden frame creaked softly. The rocking shifted, but beneath a deep stillness held firm, the presence of faith, a quiet anchor beneath the flood's uncertain breath. Noah stood at the great hatch once more. The sky, washed pale with the breath of morning, showed faint hollows of distant clouds, and the scent of earth drifted faintly, barely perceived but deeply felt. It was a whisper of promise, a faint hint of what might yet be reclaimed. The animals gathered near the open hatch, their eyes bright with instinctive yearning. Parrots ruffled their feathers, their soft calls like echoes of far-off forests. A pair of wolves stood alert, their sharp noses picked at the air, eager yet patient. The calm wasn't only around them, but within them. It was the quiet trust that, no matter how long the journey, home would once again be found. And through this shared patience, the ark became more than wood and nails. It became a vessel of hope itself. Noon passed softly, and the warm light wove itself through the beams, falling upon the family as they gathered to rest. Noah's youngest child nestled close to the warmth of the hearth, eyes closing beneath the gentle cadence of his mother's voice, as she whispered stories of the earth that once was, and the earth that will be. The great bears curled near the thick walls, their slow, deep breathing the thunder beneath the quiet air. Birds perched quietly, wings relaxed, heads tucked close to feathers glinting like dawn silver. Noah's thoughts drifted inward, reflecting on the subtle cycles of life. Just as seedlings in the richest soil stretch hungrily toward the light, so too would the world one day rise again. The flood was not the end but a pause, a necessary cleansing, opening paths anew beneath the old sky. Outside, the rain had stopped sometime during the night. Now soft beams of sun pierced the occasional parting clouds, dappling the rough planks with patches of warmth. The world was breathing, waiting and watching. Noah spoke softly to the animals as the afternoon waned. His voice was even, a thread woven through the stillness. "We are a family here," he said, "bound by faith and by the shared hope that the earth will call us home again." His children smiled in reply, absorbing the quiet strength that passed between word and breath. The young boy reached out small, brave hands to stroke the mane of a great horse. The gentle connection spread among them all, the unspoken reverence that spoke louder than any chant. As evening unfurled its quiet hues of amber and soft violet, the ark's rhythmic rocking eased, the water growing calmer beneath the vast spread of stars. The air cooled, carrying with it the whispers of distant lands, the faint scents of pine and fertile earth that lingered on the breeze. Noah's wife gathered the family near the fire once more. They sat together in silence, the flames reflecting in wide animal eyes and watching human faces alike. The hearth's glow was a steady pulse, a reminder of the light that holds when darkness seems unending. As night deepened, the animals settled into the stillness. The soft rustling of feathers and the slow sighs of breath were an ancient lullaby, merging all hearts beneath the vast starry dome. Noah stood beside the great hatch one final time before sleep claimed him. The stars were bright, silent witnesses to a journey that was both ending and beginning. He felt the steady drumbeat of the earth in his chest, a sacred rhythm that promised survival, renewal, and the endless grace of creation's covenant. The ark was their refuge, their sanctuary, their hope. Within its sturdy walls, life persisted, woven from faith, from love, and from the quiet, unyielding trust in the promise of dawn. And so, beneath the silent watch of the heavens, the animals and the family rested, Wrapped in the sacred stillness, they awaited morning, when the world would whisper again, and the ark would sail toward new beginnings. The first soft light of morning stretched over the horizon, gentle and tentative, as if the earth itself was awakening from a long, deep dream. The rain had ceased entirely, leaving only a crisp freshness in the air. Outside, the world was cleansed, quiet save for the distant drip of water falling from leaf to leaf, a slow, lingering echo of the storm that had passed. Noah stood once more at the hatch of the ark, his breath steady, shoulders no longer heavy, but filled with a calm resolve. The animals, sensing the subtle shift in the earth's breath, began to stir with a gentle energy, a renewed spirit of life, just beneath their fur, feathers, and scales. A pair of doves, small and pristine, fluttered softly near the edges, their wings brushing the air like whispered prayers. Nearby, the great bears, having settled into a state of restful watchfulness, stretched carefully, their powerful limbs unfolding with ease and grace. The birds, a chorus of soft chirps and coos, moved closer, encouraged by the warmth of the morning sun spilling through the open hatch. Noah's youngest child, still wrapped quietly in a cloak of dreams, opened her eyes to the muted hum of this new day. She stirred gently, her small hand reaching toward one of the resting lambs nearby. Noah's wife, ever gentle, brushed back a lock of hair and whispered stories of rainbows, gardens, and the promise of green earth. The space inside the ark, filled with shared breath and subtle sounds, felt like a sanctuary between worlds, a moment held between the flood's fierce memory and the gift of seedlings yet to grow. The wood beneath their feet creaked softly, alive with the stories it had carried through wind and water. Noah walked slowly among the animals, his eyes meeting those of the creatures who had trusted this vessel to carry them through. There was a deep understanding in their gaze. They were no longer merely beasts, but companions in endurance, fellow travelers on the path from storm to calm. From a quiet corner, a pair of elephants rumbled low, a sound like distant thunder now softened and distant. A mother and her calf nestled close together, finding reassurance in the closeness of family and the steady hands of their keepers. The ark, once filled with the cacophony of anxious sounds, now held a soft murmur, a harmony of quiet breaths and gentle movements. It was a lullaby to the earth, a promise that life endures, reshapes, and always finds its way. Noah's gaze lifted to the sky, where pale blue stretched beyond the dissipating clouds. He could feel the pulse of the earth beneath the ark, a subtle reminder of the long journey ahead, both for his family and all who traveled with them. In this moment there was no urgency, no fear, only the slow turning of time and the sacred rhythm of survival. The flood had been a cleansing pause, yes, but more than that, it was a beginning, a renewal whispered on the wind and etched into the softening soil. The youngest child, still wide-eyed, reached out once more, touching the coarse fur of a nearby wolf, who approached with graceful caution. Their breaths mingled, tender and slow, in a fragile trust born of shared shelter and silence. Around the hearth, Noah's wife gathered her children close, her voice a soft murmur of hope and resilience. She spoke of the earth's beauty waiting beneath the waters, of gardens and streams, of valleys and mountains that would soon rise again to greet them. As the day slipped gently forward, shadows moved lazily across the deck, the animals shifting with a calm rhythm, born of rest and quiet wonder. The ark itself seemed to breathe, each plank and nail a heartbeat, steady and unyielding. Noah felt an eternal current flowing beneath his feet, deep and steady, connecting past to future, storm to sun. His family, his companions, and the creatures all balanced on this moment, fragile yet unbreakable. Time stretched softly and endlessly until the sun rose higher, flooding the ark's interior with warmth and light. The animals, sensing this shift, let out small calls, little celebrations of life sustained. The lambs nuzzled close, the birds preened and stretched their wings, the great beasts lifted their heads and exhaled slow, steady breaths. A sense of sacred peace wrapped the ark, like a benediction. The air was cool and pure, carrying the scent of fresh earth and distant forests. Noah's thoughts, once heavy with worry, now floated light with gratitude, a quiet thanksgiving to the skies, to the waters, and to the resilience woven through all living things. As the day deepened, the family moved gently among their living charges, offering water, soft foods, gentle words. The youngest child laughed softly as a small fawn brushed her hand with its nose, a moment of innocent joy in the vastness of survival. Noah gazed once more beyond the open hatch, watching the world begin to heal itself. The water had begun to recede, fields and hills appearing slowly beneath the horizon's edge, shadows returning to places long muted by flood. The stars, dimmed in the new daylight, held their promise still, hidden beyond the sun's calm glow, reminders of guidance and hope as long as night would reign. The family gathered again as dusk approached, the fire crackling a welcoming glow. The animals settled, their breaths slow and even, the melody of survival folding softly into silence. Noah's wife sang a gentle song, their shared lullaby, peaceful and timeless. Noah rested his hand lightly on his wife's shoulder, feeling the steady strength in her presence. Around them the ark rocked slowly, a cradle holding life's sacred promise, softly rocking toward dawn, toward renewal. The flood had passed, the journey continued, and beneath the vast, endless sky, the animals and all the earth would live again.